Hi everyone. The problem now that we are going to solve involves the input table as customer info. So this table has below columns cust ID, which is the ID of the customer, cust name, which is the name of the customer, cust mail, which is the email ID of the customer, cust location, which is the location of the customer. So every entry gives information related to the customer as to what is their name, what is their email ID, what is their location. And the other table is orders. So in this table, we have below columns order ID, which is the ID of the order date, that is the date on which the order was placed, order amount, which is the amount that was used for the expenditure on this order cust ID, which is the customer ID who has placed this order. So this has the information related to the order that is placed. So we have these two input tables. Now, as part of the output, we need to find the customer who have never placed an order. So like for example, if we see here for this entry, the order is placed by cust ID 100, which means that this order is placed by the customer Manish who is having this cust ID 100. Similarly, if we see the other details, like for example, these entries, these are placed by a customer with customer ID 351. And if we see in the customer table, it is Pihu who has placed these orders. So we have to basically identify who is that customer who is not present in these orders. So that way we will find out which is the customer who have not placed any order. So as part of the output, we need to find such customers. So in this case, it is Priyanka and Siddharth with customer ID 425 and 311. So we don't see any orders for these two customers 311 and 425. For rest of the customers 351, 417 and 100, we are able to see the orders. So ultimately, we have to identify only those customers who have not placed any order. So let's get going and solve this problem. We are going to use three approaches to identify this solution. So let's get started. We will start with the first approach that we can take to solve this problem. In this approach, we are going to use join operation. So what we will do is we will work on the customer table, that is customer info. Let's give the alias as C. We will use the left join and we will join with the orders table. Let's give the alias as O. So basically what we are doing is we are going to join these two tables on the customer ID. So cust ID from the customer table, customer info table, and order cust ID from the orders table. On this we are going to establish the linkage. So we will specify that, and from the orders table we will specify the order cust ID. For now what we will do is we will fetch all the columns from both the tables. So let's run and see the output. So now we have done the join operation. As we can see, as we have used the left join, wherever the join operation is successful, which means wherever a match is identified between the cust ID and the order cust ID. So in all such scenarios, we will get the corresponding values in this orders column in the right table that is specified. So we will get the values there wherever there is a match that is found. But in scenarios where there is no match, for example, for these customers 425 and 311, there is no entry in the right table, that is orders table. So it will have null populated in each of the columns. Okay. So once we have this output, it is very easy to determine. We have to just look out for these rows because this represents the customer who have not placed any orders. So what we will do is on the column wherein we are doing the join, we will check for the null value. So if it is having null, we will say that those are the customer who have not placed any order. Note that for other customers, since there will be entry present in the orders table, there will be data across all the columns. Okay, so now what we will do is we will operate on this output result, and simply we will add a filter clause wherein we will say that on this column, that is the customer ID column from the orders table, the right side table, check if it is null. So see that we are providing this in the where clause. And if we check the order of execution, first the from clause and the on clause will get executed. Post that the where clause will get executed. So this operation will happen after the join operation. That's why we can specify this. So basically, once this is computed, only after that this filter condition will get applied as per the order of execution of SQL clauses. So let's run and see the output as to what do we get. So now we have fetched only those customers who have not placed any order. We also just need the columns from the customer table. So let's remove the columns from the orders table and run it again. So we have got the required output. We have identified who are the customer who have not placed any order using the left join. So for now, what we will do is we will just comment out whatever we have computed. Let's work on approach 2. So as part of this approach, what we will do is we will fetch the customer's ID who have placed the orders from the orders table. So we will get the details from the orders table. We will use the distinct clause to get the unique cust ID from the orders table. Okay, let's run and see the output. So basically, these are the customers who have placed an order. So from this orders table, we have derived those customers. So this is the first step that we have taken as part of this approach. Now what we will do is we will simply go to the customers table and look out for those customer who are not in this list. Okay, who has customer ID other than this. So from this table, we will check that. How we will do it? Simply, we will go to this customer info table and we will check the customer ID is not in this list. So we will use the not in keyword here and we will use this as a subquery, the customer ID list that we just generated. So these are the customers who have placed the order, and now we will fetch the details of the customer who are not in this list, which is to indicate the customer who have not placed any orders. So let's run and see the output. So we have got the required output. So using the second approach, we have generated the required result. So hope it is clear. Let's move on to the third approach that we can take to solve this problem. So we will just comment the second approach that we have used here. Let's work on approach 3. So in approach 3, we are going to use a correlated query. So we are going to fetch the info from the customer info table. Let's give the alias as C and we will fetch all the columns. And now we will apply a filter condition. So we need to fetch only the customer who have not placed any order. So we will use the not exist keyword to check that there is no record of the customer in the orders table. So we will fetch the entries from the orders table by using the condition that the order cust ID is same as the cust ID that we are looking for. So for any of the customer, So this will run one by one for each of the customer, and it will check if the entry is present for that customer in the orders table. Okay, so that check will be done. If there is any entry for a customer in the orders table, this will be false because the entry is existing. So since we have used not exist for any customer, if there is no entry present, the output will be generated. So let's run and see the output. So we are able to generate the output with the third approach as well. So this way we have solved this problem using three approaches. Now what we will do is we will quickly go through each of the approaches as to how we have solved the problem. So as we see, for each of the approaches, we have got the same output. That is the customer who have not placed any order. So let's go through the query as to how the problem has been solved using each of the approaches. So in the first approach, we have used the left join. We have performed the join operation between the customer info and the orders table using the join condition based on the customer ID. And after that, we have checked if the customer ID in the orders table is null. That means for whichever entries there is no match found, fetch all such records by getting only the columns from the customer info table. So this is the first approach that we have used. As part of the second approach, first of all, we have determined all the customer ID who have placed the orders by checking the details in the orders table. So once we have that list, we have gone to the customer info table and fetched all the entries where the ID of the customer is not present in this list. So all the customer who have not placed the order will not be in this list and their entries will be fetched. So this was the second approach. Talking about the third approach, here we have used the correlated query. So we have fetched the info from the customer info table, and for each of the customer ID, a check is made here whether the entry is present in the orders table. So if the entry in the orders table has customer ID same as that of the customer ID in the customer info table. So if the entry exists, the output will not be generated. But if there is no such entry, which is indicated here using the not exists, so if there is no such entry, then it will generate that output. So this way we will fetch the customer who have not placed the order. So this way we have solved the problem. So please go through it. The create table and insert statement will be added in the description. If you found the video useful, please like it.
comment, and
Please subscribe the
subscribe.
channel if you have not yet subscribed, and please share the video in your circle so that more people can benefit. Please also add your feedback in the comments. Thank you.